Have you ever sat quietly after a phone call with your son or daughter and just felt off? Not angry, not sad exactly, just something in your gut saying that didn't feel right. Maybe the words they used were sharp or cold, or maybe they didn't sound like the child you raised at all. You're not alone if you felt that. More and more older adults are quietly wrestling with something we don't talk about nearly enough: emotional mistreatment from our own children. Now, I know that's hard to hear. As parents, we've given everything: our time, our health, our money, our patience, sometimes all of it at once. We're the ones who stayed up when they were sick, worked extra hours to buy school supplies, and clapped the loudest at every graduation. But here's something that might be even harder to accept. Sometimes, the children we love grow into adults who forget how to love us back in the way we deserve. And when they do, it's not just painful, it's harmful. Not just emotionally, but physically too. That daily stress, it raises your blood pressure, affects your sleep, and chips away at your joy little by little. That's why we're talking today about something so important. The words your grown kids say that should make you stop and think. Is this relationship hurting me more than helping me? You don't owe anyone access to your heart just because they share your last name. Respect goes both ways, no matter how old they are or how many birthdays you've had. So let's gently but honestly look at the first few warning signs that your child may be crossing a line. And why, if you hear these things too often, it might be time to step back or even walk away. One of the most gut-wrenching phrases a parent can hear is, "You're just being dramatic." Maybe you were trying to explain how you're feeling left out of family gatherings, or that your health isn't what it used to be and you need a little help. And instead of listening with care, your child shrugs it off and tells you you're overreacting. This isn't just a lack of empathy. It's a form of emotional dismissal. It tells you that your feelings aren't valid, that your pain doesn't matter, that your experience isn't real. Now think about this. If a friend said that to you again and again, would you keep spending time with them? Probably not. Yet when it's your own child, you may feel trapped by guilt or fear. But here's the truth. Your emotions are real. You deserve to be heard, not belittled. And if your child repeatedly makes you feel like you have to prove you're hurt before they'll acknowledge it, it may be time to protect your peace by creating distance. Another phrase that cuts deeply is, "You've never done anything for me." Now just take a breath. I know how hard that one hits, because it's a lie. And worse, it's a cruel lie. You did everything. You fed them, clothed them, held their hand on the first day of school, sat at the kitchen table helping with homework, worked jobs you didn't love just to keep food on the table. Maybe you skipped vacations, postponed retirement, or gave up your own dreams because being a parent came first. And now, to have all of that erased in one careless sentence, that's more than ungrateful. It's emotionally abusive. Adults who say this are usually trying to manipulate you. They may want money, favors, or your silence. They know that guilt is a powerful tool, and they use it like a crowbar, trying to pry open your heart, your wallet, or your schedule. But you do not have to stand there and take it. You are not selfish for walking away from someone who refuses to honor your sacrifices. You are allowed to say, "I know what I gave. I don't need you to see it, but I won't let you deny it." Let me tell you something important, especially if no one else has said this to you lately. Your worth is not measured by your child's ability to appreciate you. It was never about them validating your love. It was about you giving it freely. And you did. You gave it all. And now, you have every right to step back from anyone who twists that love into a weapon. Now, here's another one. It might not sound cruel at first, but when you hear it again and again, it starts to wear you down. "I don't have time for this. You call and they don't pick up. You ask for a quick visit and they say they're too busy. You need help with your taxes or a doctor's appointment or just someone to talk to. And they tell you in one way or another that their life is more important than yours. Time is the one thing none of us can make more of. And when someone constantly shows you that you're not worth even 5 minutes of theirs, it's time to look at what they are making time for. If your child has time to scroll social media, go out with friends, take vacations, or binge-watch TV, but can't return your call or check in once a week, they're showing you where you rank in their life. And that ranking? It's not your fault. You are not a burden. You are not disposable. You are not too much. You are a human being worthy of love, attention, and care, no matter your age. So when you keep getting the message, spoken or not, that you're only welcome when it's convenient, that's not a relationship. That's one-sided access. And guess what? You get to close the door when people keep walking in just to take and never give. These are not easy things to face. I know how deeply a parent's love runs. But love without boundaries turns into exhaustion. And too many older adults are living with quiet heartbreak, holding on to hope while being treated like an afterthought. Let me remind you of something. It's not your job to teach grown adults how to respect you. It's your job to respect yourself enough to say no more. You don't need permission to walk away from a toxic pattern. You only need courage and trust that peace is on the other side of letting go. And sometimes that starts with listening to your heart when it says, "This hurts too much to stay." Keep holding on to that truth as we go further, because the more you recognize these red flags, the easier it becomes to take back your power. Not in anger, but in quiet, steady strength. Let's keep going. Because if these first few phrases raised any flags for you, what comes next might help you see even more clearly what kind of love and life you deserve. There's a certain kind of silence that lingers after a conversation goes wrong. Not the peaceful kind. The kind that feels like something's been taken from you. Your dignity, your joy, your place in someone's life. And that silence grows when your child says something like, "You owe me." Those 3 words can sneak up on you. They might come out when you say no to a loan, when you decide not to babysit the grandkids for the 4th time this week, when you take a trip instead of handing over another check. You owe me, because I'm your child. Because you brought me into this world. It's as if the love you gave, the diapers you changed, the bills you paid, the food you put on the table, somehow put you in debt. But love isn't a transaction. Parenting wasn't a contract with repayment terms. You didn't raise them so they'd pay you back. You raised them because it was your calling, your commitment, your joy, even when it was exhausting. And now, you don't owe them anything. Not your savings, not your retirement, not your sanity. So when a grown child says, "You owe me," what they're really saying is, your boundaries don't matter. Your life is mine to direct. And that's where you must draw the line. Not out of revenge, but out of love for yourself. Because no one, no matter how close, has the right to drain your life dry under the weight of guilt. There's another one that might sting just as badly. Maybe worse. It sounds like this: "You're just lonely. That's why you're calling." Now, let's be real for a moment. Yes, sometimes we do reach out because we want connection. That's not a weakness. That's being human. But to have your vulnerability tossed aside like it's something to mock, that's cruelty dressed up as casual conversation. When a child uses your need for connection as a punchline, they're showing you that compassion is no longer part of their vocabulary. And it hurts, because deep down, you probably remember the way you once held them in your arms when they cried. The way you whispered, "I'm here," when they were scared at night. You offered them presence. They're offering you distance and making you feel ashamed for needing closeness. But let me say this clearly, in case no one has. Wanting company doesn't make you needy. Asking for connection doesn't make you a burden. Being alone doesn't mean you deserve to be treated like you're invisible. Your voice deserves to be answered. Your messages deserve a reply. Your heart deserves kindness. And if someone constantly makes you feel small just because you reached out, that's not your shame to carry. Now, another phrase that can throw you off balance comes in the form of, "You're stuck in the past." Maybe you brought up how holidays used to be, or how manners seem to have changed. Maybe you talked about values, about being grateful, about treating elders with respect. And instead of listening, they rolled their eyes. Maybe they even said it with a laugh, as if your wisdom was some outdated trend. You're stuck in the past. But here's the thing. Your past has meaning. It's where your strength came from. It's where you learned lessons, survived challenges, raised a family, built a life. And just because the world spins faster these days doesn't mean your memories are worthless. In fact, they may be more valuable than ever. Because wisdom, real wisdom, comes from experience. So when someone uses your age or your stories to dismiss you, it's not a reflection of your relevance. It's a reflection of their ignorance. And yes, people change. Cultures evolve. But the basics of human decency, respect, kindness, listening, those don't go out of style. You don't have to explain your values. And you certainly don't have to accept being spoken to like you're some relic on a shelf. Your life matters. Your voice matters. Your stories matter. Don't let anyone make you feel like you've expired just because you've lived. And finally, for this part, there's one that cuts right to the soul. It goes like this. If you don't do this, you won't see the grandkids. That, my friend, is not just manipulation. It's emotional blackmail. Children, your grandchildren, should never be used as bargaining chips. They are not leverage. They are not tools. They are innocent hearts who deserve love, not drama. But when a son or daughter starts playing games with your access to them, threatening to take them away if you don't give money, or follow their rules to the letter, or stay silent when something feels wrong, that's abuse. And it's cruel. I know how deeply grandparents love. How your face lights up when that little voice says, "Grandma," or "Papa." How you do just about anything to stay part of their lives. But here's the tough truth. If being in their lives means tolerating disrespect, control, or endless manipulation from their parents, you have to ask yourself, what is the real cost? Because your grandkids may not understand now, but one day they'll see. They'll remember how you stood tall. They'll learn by your example what self-respect looks like, and maybe, just maybe, they'll grow up to treat others and themselves with more kindness. But none of that can happen if you allow yourself to be emotionally blackmailed into silence and submission. You are not powerless. You are not forgotten. And most importantly, you are not alone. There are people out there, maybe not your child, but people who will treat you with the care, attention, and respect that you absolutely deserve. You don't have to settle for half-hearted calls, sharp words, or passive aggression wrapped in family duty. You're allowed to want more. You're allowed to expect more. And you're allowed to walk away when more never comes. Let's keep going because there are still things that need to be said. And if any part of what you've heard so far has stirred something in you, stay with me. Your clarity, your courage, your peace, they're not behind you. They're ahead. And you're getting closer every minute you choose yourself. There's a moment, sometimes in the quiet after an argument or during a long drive home, when a thought creeps in that we often push away. What happened to the child I raised? How did we get here? That thought can hurt more than anything they've said because it reminds us how deeply we care. It reminds us that we didn't just give birth to them. We gave our hearts. We gave our years. We gave our lives. And yet, despite all of that, sometimes we hear words from our own children that are so sharp, so dismissive, they leave us reeling. Like this one. You don't know what you're talking about. At first, it might sound like a disagreement over something small, a piece of advice, a parenting comment, even a financial tip. But over time, this phrase starts to wear down your voice. It's not just that they disagree. It's that they treat your experience as irrelevant. They forget or choose to ignore that you've been through decades of life, that you've raised children, held jobs, paid bills, loved, lost, and endured more than they may ever know. Being older doesn't make you out of touch. It makes you seasoned. It makes you aware. It makes you wise in a way no internet search or podcast can replace. So when a child repeatedly talks over you, rolls their eyes, or speaks as though your thoughts are meaningless, it's not a debate, it's disrespect. And you do not have to keep explaining your value to someone who refuses to see it. Your wisdom doesn't need their validation. Your memories don't require their approval. You have earned your voice. And no one has the right to silence it. Then there's the phrase that can stop you cold in your tracks. You're lucky I still talk to you. Now let's sit with that one for a second. Because that's not just cruel. That's a warning flag waving wildly in the wind. When someone makes their presence in your life feel like a privilege you must earn, rather than a gift you both share, that is emotional control. It says, I'm in charge, you're disposable. It says, you better stay quiet or I'll cut you out. It says, my love is conditional. And that, dear friend, is not love. That is manipulation. No child should ever speak to their parent that way, and no parent should ever have to tolerate it. You are not lucky to be spoken to. They are lucky to have you. And if they can't see that, you have every right to step away and protect your peace. Because love that is weaponized is not love at all. And then there's a final one, perhaps the most painful of them all. It doesn't always come in words. Sometimes it's a tone, a glance. Sometimes it's silence. But when spoken, it lands like a punch. I never asked to be born. That sentence, it's like a stone in the chest. Because it turns everything you ever did for them into a target. It strips away your love, your effort, your late nights, your self-sacrifice, and reduces it all to a burden they never wanted. And even though you know they're lashing out, even though you know it's coming from their own pain or immaturity or pride, it still cuts deep. Because it's not just about them, it's about you. It's about the love you gave without hesitation, the years you spent trying to be enough, the hope you carried that they would grow into someone kind, compassionate, and strong. So when that hope gets thrown back at you in anger, it can feel like the end of the road. But maybe it's not the end. Maybe it's the beginning. Because here's what I want you to remember. With all the love and compassion I can offer from this side of the screen, you cannot change another person's heart. You cannot force respect. You cannot explain your way into being loved the right way. But you can reclaim your time. You can protect your heart. You can walk away from patterns that keep you small, scared, or silent. And yes, even if that person is your child. It doesn't make you a bad parent to walk away from disrespect. It doesn't make you cold to want peace more than chaos. It doesn't make you weak to choose quiet over conflict. It makes you wise. It makes you brave. It makes you someone who knows, deep down, that love must go both ways, or it's not love at all. You gave them the best years of your life. Now, give yourself the best of what's left. Spend your time with people who smile when you call, Share meals with those who ask how your day was and mean it. Build memories with friends who make you laugh so hard your stomach hurts. Plant flowers, take walks, try new hobbies. Live. You've earned it. And if your child comes back one day, ready to speak with kindness, ready to take responsibility, ready to love you like you deserve, then you can decide with a clear heart and calm mind what you're willing to welcome back. But until then, you are allowed to let go. Let go of guilt. Let go of shame. Let go of the version of them that only exists in your memories, and walk toward the version of you that still has so much life left to live. You are not too old to be respected. You are not too late to start over. And you are not too far gone to be surrounded by love that lifts, not love that drains. So take a breath, lift your chin, and take that first step, whether it's away from pain or towards something better. You deserve peace. You deserve joy. You deserve to be spoken to gently and held with care. If this message spoke to you, if any part of it felt like your story, I hope you'll share it. Not just in the comments below, but with someone who might need to hear it too. And if you found comfort here, I hope you'll subscribe to this channel, Strong Elderly Life, where we speak the truth with love and remind each other what dignity really looks like. Thank you for spending this time with me. Thank you for choosing yourself today and always. Here's to healing, to boundaries, and to a life filled with kindness. Because no matter how old we get, it's never too late to choose peace.